God's chosen one, a life-changing meeting is closer. God has already decided. Stop. What you're about to hear wasn't meant for everyone's ears. This message found you for a reason. Has God ever forgotten a promise He made to you? Has heaven ever failed to fulfill what was written with your name? I need you to listen carefully right now. The divine appointment you've been praying for, the one you've nearly given up on, it's already been decided in the courts of heaven. This isn't just another spiritual message. This is heaven's direct line to you. The fact that you're hearing these words right now is no accident, no coincidence, no random algorithm. You were divinely appointed to receive this revelation at this exact moment in your journey. Those unanswered prayers, those closed doors that left you questioning everything, they weren't failures, they were preparation. Every tear you've shed in the darkness, every battle fought in silence, every night you stayed faithful when giving up seemed easier. God saw it all, and He's been positioning you for what comes next. Jeremiah 1-5 whispers the truth. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. This has always been your destiny, to be called for such a time as this. But I must warn you, what's approaching isn't just another spiritual experience or fleeting moment of clarity. This divine encounter will shatter everything you thought you knew about your purpose. The sacred appointment cannot be postponed. It cannot be cancelled. It cannot be delayed. Those who have ears to hear, listen now. You were not created for mediocrity. The divine fingerprints on your soul marked you from the beginning as someone set apart. If you feel a stirring in your spirit right now, a recognition deep in your soul, I need you to take 3 actions immediately. Comment, "I receive," below, if you feel your soul awakening to this truth. Hit that like button to confirm you've received this heavenly signal. Subscribe, because what I'm about to reveal in this series will guide you through the divine appointment that's already been scheduled with your name. The clock is ticking. This moment of alignment won't wait forever. Thank you to every single one of you who has supported this mission through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just giving. You're sowing seeds that help spread God's light to others who feel lost and forgotten. Whether you give or simply share this message, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. If this message is resonating deep in your spirit, stay with me. What you're about to learn will forever change how you see your past struggles and future calling. Your divine appointment, Awet. Have you ever felt that heaven itself has forgotten your name, that your prayers have fallen on deaf ears, that the promises whispered to your heart in the midnight hours were just empty echoes? I need you to listen carefully to what I'm about to reveal. In the sacred chambers of heaven, there exists what the ancient prophets called the Divine Meeting Book. This isn't folklore or religious fantasy. This is spiritual reality, a divine ledger where God Himself inscribes the appointed times when He will step directly into human lives. And chosen one, your name is written there. Let that sink deep into your spirit for a moment. The meeting that will transform everything in your life has already been decided, not by chance, not by human scheduling, but by divine decree. Psalm 139:16 confirms this truth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Every tear you've shed in silent rooms, every prayer that seemed to hit a brass ceiling, every moment you wondered if God had abandoned you, all of it was preparation. Sacred preparation for this divine appointment that heaven has already scheduled. Can you see it? The golden tablet of destiny with your name engraved by the finger of God Himself. Many of you watching right now have nearly given up. The waiting has been excruciating, the silence deafening, the disappointments crushing. I understand. But what if I told you that the very delay that has caused you such pain was actually divine protection? What if God has been waiting for this exact moment in history, this precise alignment of circumstances, to reveal himself to you in ways that will transform not just your life, but the lives of everyone around you. In Daniel 10, the prophet prayed for 21 days, believing heaven had ignored him. But the angel who finally arrived told him, "Do not be afraid, Daniel. Since the first day that you set your mind to gain understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come in response to them. Your prayers have been heard from the very beginning. The delay wasn't denial, it was divine timing. Look around you. Do you see a world desperately in need of wisdom, communities fracturing, families struggling, faith under assault? This isn't coincidence. This is the backdrop against which your divine appointment will unfold. When Moses encountered God at the burning bush, he wasn't a young man full of potential. He was 80 years old, his dreams long abandoned in the wilderness. Yet it was precisely at that moment when the world would call him too old, that God called him ready. Your age isn't a barrier to this divine meeting. It's your qualification. The white hair that society dismisses. Scripture calls it a crown of glory. In Proverbs 16:31, the years you've walked this earth aren't disqualifying you from purpose, they've been preparing you for it. Heaven has already signed your name into the divine meeting book. Let me ask you something that might shake you to your core. What if the greatest tragedy isn't that God has forgotten you, but that you've forgotten who God says you are? What if, while you've been waiting for heaven to move, heaven has been waiting for you to remember your true identity? The divine seal has already been pressed into the wax. The appointment has been made. The meeting that will change everything is approaching with the unstoppable momentum of divine purpose. I can sense some of you feeling a stirring in your spirit right now, a recognition, a remembering. This message isn't finding you by accident, it's finding you by appointment. If you feel your spirit bearing witness to this truth, I want you to type "I am chosen" in the comments below. Not as a social media gesture, but as a sacred declaration, a public acknowledgement of what heaven has already decreed over your life. Here's what you need to understand about this divine meeting. It will not look like what you expect. When Jacob encountered God at Bethel, he wasn't in a temple or on a mountain. He was asleep on the ground, his head on a stone. Genesis 28:16 records his startled realization, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it." The divine meeting may come disguised as an ordinary moment, a chance encounter, or even a challenge. But make no mistake, it will change everything. Isaiah 45:3 promises, "I will give you hidden treasures, riches stored in secret places, so that you may know that I am the Lord, the God of Israel, who summons you by name." Do you hear that? He summons you by name, not your neighbor, not your pastor, not the person you think is more spiritual or more deserving. You. The pages of the divine meeting book aren't filled with the names of the perfect. They're inscribed with the names of the chosen. And your name is there, written not in ordinary ink, but in the blood of redemption. The question isn't whether this divine appointment will come. Heaven has already decided that. The question is, will you be ready when it arrives? Because what awaits you isn't just a moment of spiritual comfort, it's a commission, a calling, a divine purpose that has been waiting for this exact season to be revealed. And as we move forward, I'm going to show you exactly how to prepare your heart, your mind, and your spirit for this life-changing encounter that heaven has already scheduled with your name on it. Chosen one. Let me tell you about Martha from Brooklyn. For 40 years, she attended the same church, lived in the same neighborhood, followed the same routines. Her life was comfortable, but something changed. She began waking at 3 a.m. with a restlessness she couldn't explain. The life that once fit her like a glove now felt like a borrowed coat. Sign number 1, divine restlessness. That unexplainable stirring in your spirit isn't random. It's heaven's whisper that you've outgrown where you are. Have you felt it lately? that nagging feeling that there's something more waiting for you, the discomfort in spaces that once brought comfort. This isn't depression, this isn't a midlife crisis, this is God preparing your spirit for expansion. The prophet Elijah experienced this when God told him, "What are you doing here?" in 1 Kings 19-9. God was stirring him for a new assignment. When was the last time you found yourself staring out your window, wondering if this is really all there is? That moment wasn't doubt, it was divine invitation. Sign number 2, spiritual downloads. James, a retired teacher from Queens, started having the same dream repeatedly. In it, he saw himself speaking to crowds of people, something the shy 72-year-old had never done. Then his granddaughter asked him to share his war experiences at her college. The room was packed, just like in his dream. Your dreams are becoming more vivid, aren't they? Ideas flood your mind when you least expect them. You wake up with solutions to problems you weren't even consciously trying to solve. For God may speak in one way or in another, yet man does not perceive it. In a dream, in a vision of the night. Job 33-14, -15. These aren't coincidences. They're divine download, heaven's way of preparing you for what's next. How many downloads have you been receiving? How many have you dismissed as just a strange dream or just a random thought? What if they were God's blueprints for your next chapter? Sign number 3, divine detachment. Sarah from Manhattan called me in tears. "Everyone's pulling away from me, my bridge group, my neighbors. Even my sister hardly calls anymore." 6 weeks later, she met a group of women at a community center who needed her skills to start a ministry for homeless women, something Sarah had secretly felt called to for years. Have you noticed relationships suddenly cooling? People you've known for years now feel like strangers. Conversations that once energized you now drain your spirit. This isn't abandonment. This is divine protection. This is God creating sacred space around you. Therefore come out from them and be separate, says the Lord. 2 Corinthians 6:17. Those relationships aren't being destroyed. They're being rearranged to make room for divine connections aligned with your purpose. The empty spaces in your life aren't punishment. They're preparation for who's coming next. Sign number 4, holy urgency. Frank from Buffalo put off his calling for decades. "I'll serve when I retire," he'd say. At 68, healthy and finally retired, he felt an overwhelming urgency to start a men's ministry. 3 months later, Frank suffered a stroke. From his hospital bed, he led 17 men to Christ, exact number God had shown him. That urgency you feel isn't anxiety, it's divine timing. Have you felt it? That sense that, if not now, when? That feeling that the sand in the hourglass is running out. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come. Habakkuk 2-3. The timeline is accelerating. What God once gave people years to accomplish, He's now compressing into months, even weeks. That urgency in your spirit isn't random. It's heaven's countdown clock. What have you been putting off that can no longer wait? Sign number 5, sacred shifts. Dorothy from Staten Island lost her job of 30 years. 2 weeks later, her apartment building announced major renovations, forcing her to move. "Everything's falling apart," she told me. 1 month later, she found herself living 3 blocks from her estranged daughter, the divine appointment God had been orchestrating all along. Their reconciliation led to healing for 4 generations. These disruptions in your life, they're not random chaos. They're sacred shifts orchestrating your divine appointment. The job that suddenly ended? The home you unexpectedly had to leave? The health challenge that altered your plans? Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Proverbs 19:21. You are not breaking down, chosen one. You are breaking through. Every closed door, every surprising change, every unexpected shift, they're all road signs pointing to your divine appointment. Look around you. Which of these signs are appearing in your life right now? 1, 2, perhaps all 5? The more signs you're experiencing, the closer your divine appointment is. Heaven doesn't waste these sacred signals on ordinary moments. What signs have you seen in your life? Share them in the comments below. Your testimony might be exactly what another chosen one needs to recognize their own signs. The question isn't whether God is moving in your life. The question is, will you recognize His hand at work before it's too late? But recognition is only the beginning. What you do next will determine whether you step fully into the divine appointment or miss the moment heaven has orchestrated. And that's exactly what we need to talk about next. When you stand at the edge of your destiny, when the promised land is finally within view, that's precisely when the fiercest battle begins. Have you noticed how the darkest hour always comes right before dawn? How the most intense contractions happen moments before new life emerges? This is no coincidence, chosen one. The enemy knows exactly when you're on the verge of breakthrough. He can sense when your divine appointment is approaching. And that's when the assault on your mind intensifies beyond anything you've experienced before. Suddenly, doubt infiltrates your thoughts like a thick, suffocating fog. Who am I to think I'm chosen? What if I've misunderstood? What if nothing happens? Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. This doubt is not evidence that you're wrong. It is confirmation that you're right. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on empty threats. He only sends his most devastating weapons against those who pose the greatest threat to his kingdom of darkness. Remember David. When Samuel anointed him king, pouring oil on his head, what followed wasn't an immediate coronation. Instead, David faced years of hiding in caves, running for his life, questioning whether the prophecy would ever come true. In 1 Samuel 30-6, we read, David was greatly distressed, but David found strength in the Lord his God. Even the man after God's own heart faced this final spiritual battle of doubt, fear, and inner turmoil before stepping into his destiny. Before every miracle is a storm. Before every calling comes a whisper of doubt. But remember this eternal truth. God's silence is not rejection. It is preparation in the unseen realms. When Moses stood at the edge of the Red Sea, the Israelites didn't see salvation. They saw death approaching from behind and impossible waters ahead. They turned against their leader in that final moment before breakthrough. Exodus 14:11-12 tells us they cried out, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die?" What impossible sea stands before you right now? What armies of doubt pursue you from behind? The spiritual battle raging in your mind at this very moment is not a sign that you've lost your way. It is divine confirmation that you're standing at the threshold of your miracle. Scripture is clear in 2 Timothy 1-7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. That fear gripping your heart, it's not from God. Those doubts paralyzing your faith, they are not from God. The whispers that you're unworthy, unqualified, unprepared, they are not from God. They are the desperate, last-ditch efforts of an enemy who knows his time with you is running out. He can see what you cannot yet see, that your breakthrough is not just possible, it is inevitable. When Joseph sat in that prison cell, falsely accused and seemingly forgotten, do you think he didn't battle doubt? When Abraham waited decades for the son God promised, do you think he didn't question whether he had heard correctly? When Jesus himself sweated blood in Gethsemane, crying out, "Take this cup from me," do you think he didn't feel the weight of what was to come? The final spiritual battle is always the most intense because it comes right before victory. The darkness is always deepest right before the dawn breaks through. Chosen one, what you are experiencing right now is not the end of your story. It is the final paragraph of your old chapter before God turns the page to something new. The enemy would not fight so hard if he didn't know something magnificent was coming. Your doubt is not disqualification. It is the final test before your commissioning. So I need you to do something right now. Wherever you are, whatever doubts are swirling in your mind, pray these words with me. Lord, prepare me for my divine appointment. Give me strength for this final battle. I choose to believe your promise even when I cannot see the fulfillment. Your timing is perfect. I am ready. When fear threatens to overwhelm you, remember whose spirit actually dwells within you. Not fear but power, not confusion but love, not anxiety but a sound mind. This battle in your mind is confirmation that your divine encounter is no longer a distant hope. It is imminent. The greater the battle, the greater the breakthrough. What feels like abandonment is actually alignment. God has positioned you exactly where you need to be for what comes next. And what comes next will transform not just your life, but the lives of countless others connected to your destiny. The question is no longer if your divine appointment will happen. The question is, will you endure this final test and step fully into what God has prepared for you? When David faced Goliath, the giant wasn't a barrier to his destiny. That giant was his doorway to it. What if the very thing that looks like it's blocking your path is actually the doorway God will use to usher you into your purpose? The final test always reveals who is truly ready for divine elevation. Are you? Chosen one, do you feel it? That pull in your spirit? That divine tension between where you've been and where God is calling you to go? Look at me. I need you to understand something profound about this sacred moment you're entering. You cannot board God's train of destiny while carrying all your old luggage. Let that sink in for a moment. The divine appointment God has ordained for you requires sacred space that can only be created through release. Right now, many of you are standing at the station of your life, hearing the whistle of God's divine timing, feeling the rumble of heaven's approach. Yet your hands are still clutching bags filled with what was never meant to accompany you on this journey. In Hebrews 12:1, Scripture tells us to throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. Why? So we can run with perseverance the race marked out for us. I want to ask you something that might shake you to your core. What if the very things you're desperately holding on to are the exact things blocking your divine encounter? Those relationships that drain your spirit instead of filling it, the ones where you constantly give but never receive. The friends who roll their eyes when you speak of God's promises. The family members who remind you of your failures but never celebrate your faith. Those habits that comfort you temporarily but leave you empty hours scrolling mindlessly through your phone instead of scrolling through Scripture. The worrying that's become so familiar you mistake it for wisdom. Those old mindsets that whisper, "You're too old. It's too late. God has passed you by. That promise was for someone else." Can I tell you the truth that heaven is thundering over your life today? You cannot carry your old life into your new destiny. Just as the Israelites couldn't bring Egyptian thinking into their promised land, you cannot step into God's divine appointment while clinging to what He's asking you to release. Remember the rich young ruler in Mark 10. He came running to Jesus, eager for eternal life. But when Jesus looked at him with love, and told him to sell his possessions, the man walked away sorrowful. He chose his comfortable past over his glorious future. I'm asking you right now, are you that man? Are you choosing the certainty of what you know over the promise of what God wants to give? When my dear friend Martha lost her husband of 52 years, she held onto his clothes for 3 years. Every inch of her closet was stuffed with memories. There was no room for her own life to expand. When she finally donated those clothes with tears streaming down her face, do you know what happened the very next week? An opportunity to serve at a mission in Florida, something she dreamed of for decades, but never pursued because her husband hadn't been interested. The position had been open for months, but God had held it for her until she made space to receive it. This isn't coincidence. This is spiritual law. When you release, heaven can pour in. When you empty your hands, God can fill them with something new. Look around your life right now. What is God asking you to release? Is it the bitterness you've nursed for decades toward that person who hurt you? Is it the identity you've built around your career now that retirement has come? Is it the need to control your adult children instead of releasing them to God's care? Is it the comfort of familiar surroundings when God may be calling you to move? Is it the self-sufficiency that makes you refuse help when others offer? Isaiah 43:18-19 declares, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing, now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." God cannot make a way where you won't let go. He cannot pour fresh water into a cup already filled with stale water. I want you to do something right now that could change everything. Grab a piece of paper. Yes, right now. I'll wait. Now, with your pen in hand, I want you to write down what God is asking you to release. Not what you think you should let go of, what He is whispering to your heart in this very moment. Don't overthink it. Don't rationalize. Just let His Spirit guide your hand. Maybe it's one thing, maybe it's 5, but write them down as a sacred act of intention. Now look at what you've written. These aren't just words on paper. This is your sacred departure ticket. This is your declaration to heaven that you're ready to board God's train of destiny without the excess baggage that's been slowing you down for years. In Matthew 19:9, Jesus promises, "Everyone who has left houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or fields for my sake will receive 100 times as much and will inherit eternal life." Did you hear that? Not just replacement, but multiplication. Not just healing, but abundance. Not just purpose, but legacy. But it begins with release. It starts with your willingness to stand at the station of your life, hear heaven's whistle, and set down your bags to board with nothing but faith in your hands. The divine appointment you've been waiting for is not delayed. It's not cancelled. It's waiting for you to create space for its arrival. What are you holding that's keeping heaven at bay? What security blanket has become your prison? What familiar pain has become more comfortable than unknown promise? Your life-changing meeting is closer than you think, but first comes the sacred departure from all that can no longer accompany you where God is taking you next. Are you ready to let go and receive what heaven has been waiting to give you? Chosen one. You've journeyed far. You've weathered storms that should have broken you. You've endured seasons of silence when heaven seemed distant. But now, right now, you stand at the threshold of your destiny. But whether you enter or not depends on this one thing: total surrender. Have you ever noticed how the greatest biblical transformations happened not when people were striving, but when they finally surrendered? Moses tried for 40 years to fulfill his calling through his own strength. Yet it wasn't until he surrendered at the burning bush, broken, humbled, and saying, "Who am I that I should go?" that God's power was finally unleashed through him. What if the very thing blocking your breakthrough is your own plan for your life? Look at your hands right now, those hands that have carried so much, those hands that have wiped away tears only you know about, those hands that have clenched in prayer and frustration, wondering when God would finally move. Those hands were never meant to carry your destiny alone. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. Proverbs 3:5-6. Let me ask you something that might unsettle your soul. What if the plans you've been holding on to so tightly are actually far smaller than what God designed for you? Many of you watching right now have been good stewards. You've been faithful. You've done everything right. You've created comfortable lives, built respectable reputations. You've crafted good plans for your golden years. But God isn't calling you to good. He's calling you to glorious. And that requires something painful, surrendering not just the bad things in your life, but the good plans you've drawn for yourself, so that heaven can draw something greater. Does that frighten you? To let go of the map you've carefully charted? I've counseled thousands who stand exactly where you are now, at the precipice of their divine appointment, yet hesitating, afraid to release control, afraid of the unknown, afraid that if they surrender completely, they might lose everything. But chosen one, surrender is not a failure, it's your greatest victory. When Jesus faced Gethsemane, he prayed, "Not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. Was this defeat? No. It was the gateway to the greatest victory in human history. His surrender didn't diminish him, it fulfilled his highest purpose. Your surrender won't diminish you either. It will finally release you to become who you were always meant to be. I must tell you a truth that few ministers have the courage to share. God cannot fully work through a vessel that is already full of its own plans. For many of you, your divine appointment has been delayed not because God isn't ready, but because you've been unwilling to empty yourself completely. Does that pierce your heart? Good, because the time for comfortable half measures has passed. Some of you right now are thinking, "But I've already given up so much. I've already surrendered." Have you really? Or have you held back the part that terrifies you most? Complete control of your future. Remember Abraham. God didn't just ask for his bad habits. God asked for Isaac, Abraham's good plan, his dream, his future. And only when Abraham was willing to surrender everything did God provide something better. What is your Isaac? What good dream are you clutching so tightly that God cannot replace it with his best? The clock is ticking on your divine appointment. The heavens are aligned for your breakthrough. But breakthrough requires breakdown, the breaking down of your will to make room for his. Right now, all across America, God's chosen ones are making this decision. In quiet living rooms in Florida, in apartments in New York, in suburban homes in Ohio, elderly saints are releasing their grip on their carefully constructed futures and saying, "Not my will, but yours." And I promise you this, the moment you surrender, the heavens will unleash blessings you never dared to imagine. Picture this. What if the remaining years of your life, whether many or few, could impact generations? What if your greatest purpose, your most profound impact, is still ahead, not behind you? Psalm 92:14 promises, "They will still bear fruit in old age, they will stay fresh and green." God isn't finished with you, but he's waiting for your complete surrender. I feel a holy urgency right now. Someone watching this video is standing at their Red Sea moment. The enemy is behind you. An impossible situation is before you. And God is simply waiting for you to lift your staff to make the gesture of surrender so he can part the waters. Will you surrender? Will you finally release everything, your retirement plans, your expectations, your financial security, your reputation, your comfort, and say, "Thy will be done"? This is not just another spiritual exercise. This is the final key that unlocks your divine appointment. If you are ready to surrender, truly surrender, everything, write "Thy will be done" in the comments below. This isn't just words on a screen. This is your sacred covenant with heaven, your declaration that you are finally ready to step into the fullness of your calling. The divine appointment God has scheduled for you is just on the other side of your surrender. The question isn't whether God is ready for you. The question is, are you finally ready for what God has prepared? As we move forward, I'm about to reveal the specific signs that confirm your divine appointment is imminent. But first, you must cross this threshold of complete surrender. Because what awaits you is far too powerful to be contained in a vessel still filled with its own plans. Have you felt it? That weight pressing down on your shoulders day after day like invisible chains wrapped around your very soul. I see you, chosen one. I see how those chains have left marks on your spirit. For too long, you've been a prisoner, not behind iron bars, but behind walls of disappointment, behind barriers of what might have been, behind the crushing weight of too late. But today, right now, I need you to hear this truth. Those chains were never meant to define you. The prison you've been living in, it's about to crumble. The walls are already starting to crack. In Isaiah 61:1, the Lord proclaims, "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners." Do you understand what this means for you? Your release has already been signed in heaven's courts. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel it? The divine key turning in the lock that's held you captive for so long. That failure that's haunted you for decades. Those words spoken over you, that you weren't good enough. The dreams you buried because someone told you it was too late. They're all about to fall away like rusty shackles that can no longer hold back what God has ordained for your life. Let me ask you something that might shake you to your core. What if the very thing you've been praying for has been waiting for you to simply let go? What if your breakthrough isn't coming tomorrow, but is literally one surrender away? Moses was 80 years old when God called him from a burning bush. Abraham was 75 when God promised to make him a father of nations. Anna was in her 80s when she witnessed the Messiah after decades of faithful waiting. Your age isn't a prison sentence, it's a qualification. The enemy has been whispering that it's too late, that your time has passed, that your best days are behind you. But I'm here with a truth straight from heaven's throne. The divine appointment God has ordained for you doesn't have an expiration date. It doesn't look at your birth certificate. It doesn't count your gray hairs or measure the lines on your face. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. That future, it's still ahead of you, not behind you. When the caterpillar enters the chrysalis, do you know what happens? It doesn't just grow wings. Its entire body dissolves into liquid before being reconstructed into something entirely new. That discomfort you're feeling, those moments when everything seems to be falling apart, it's not your destruction, it's your divine reconstruction. The pressure, the failure, the expectations, the diagnosis, the loneliness, the regret, they're all about to fall away. When you finally let go of everything, your burdens, your worries, your fears, your timeline, you will see the gates of heaven swing wide open. Like an eagle whose wings have been bound, you've been trying to soar with weights tied to your feet. But today, those cords are being severed. Can you feel it? The sensation of divine freedom rushing through your veins. This isn't just spiritual talk. This is your reality breaking open to reveal what God has always seen in you. The people who dismissed you because of your age, they couldn't see what God sees. The opportunities that seemed to pass you by, they were making room for what God has specifically designed for you. The doors that closed in your face, they were never the right doors to begin with. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has conceived what God has prepared for those who love Him. 1 Corinthians 2-9. Freedom isn't outside of you. Freedom has always been waiting inside your surrender. Let that truth sink deep into your spirit right now. Your liberation isn't waiting for a miracle, it is the miracle. And it's happening right now as you hear these words. The wings that have been folded and tucked away inside you for so long, they're stretching, they're preparing for flight. I need you to do something right now. Place your hand on your heart and whisper these words. I release everything that's holding me back. I am ready for my divine appointment. Feel the weight lifting. That's not your imagination. That's the reality of spiritual chains falling to the ground. Comment, I am free, below if you feel that burden falling off your shoulders right now. Let it be your declaration, your line drawn in the sand, that from this moment forward, You will no longer be defined by what has been, but by what is coming. The clock on your divine appointment is ticking, chosen one, but it's not counting down to an end, it's counting up to a beginning. When David faced Goliath, he didn't see an impossible giant. He saw a target that couldn't be missed. What giants have been standing in your way, mocking your dreams and your calling? Today, those giants fall. Today, those prison doors swing open. Today, those wings that have been bound begin to spread. This isn't just another spiritual message. This is the moment when everything changes. Are you ready to step out of the shadows of what has been and into the blinding light of what God has prepared? Your divine liberation isn't coming. It's here. And what comes next will leave you breathless with the wonder of God's perfect timing. Chosen one, can you feel it? That quickening in your spirit, that unmistakable stirring in your soul. It's the universe realigning itself for your divine appointment. What if I told you that the meeting you've been waiting for isn't just coming, it's already been orchestrated in the courts of heaven? The sacred encounter that will transform everything is closer than your next heartbeat. But let me ask you something deeply personal. How many more years are you willing to waste living beneath your calling? How much longer will you settle for crumbs when God has prepared a feast with your name on it? The problem isn't that God has forgotten you. The problem is that you've forgotten who you truly are. For decades, you've walked through life with dimmed light, beaten down by disappointment, worn out by waiting, exhausted by empty promises that left you feeling overlooked and forgotten. Your prayers seemed to echo against silent skies, while others received their breakthrough. I understand. I've counseled thousands exactly like you faithful servants, who began to wonder if God's promises had an expiration date. But Psalm 102:13 declares, "You will arise and have mercy on Zion, for the time to favor her, yes, the set time, has come." Do you hear that? The set time has come. When Moses stood before the burning bush, he wasn't a confident leader. He was an 80-year-old man who thought his purpose had passed him by. Yet that encounter changed everything. One divine meeting transformed a shepherd into a deliverer. Is your heart pounding right now? That's recognition. Your spirit knows this truth is meant for you. The sacred meeting I'm describing isn't just another church service or prayer meeting. This is about coming face to face with your highest self, the version of you that God envisioned before the foundations of the earth were laid. For too long, the enemy has separated you from your divine identity. He's used disappointment as his weapon, wielded rejection as his sword, deployed delay as his strategy to convince you that your time has passed, that your purpose was just a dream. But I stand before you today with prophetic authority to declare, the lies end now. When God looks at you, He doesn't see your age, He doesn't see your limitations, He doesn't see your past failures. He sees the masterpiece. He created a vessel designed for a purpose that only you can fulfill. Isaiah 43:19 thunders across time. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. Can you perceive it? The new thing God is doing in you and through you. What happens in this sacred encounter? Everything changes. Like Paul on the Damascus road, you will arrive with eyes that see what others cannot see and a commission that others cannot understand. This isn't just spiritual theory. This is where your ordinary life ends and your sacred journey begins. The transformation is like spiritual dynamite exploding in your soul suddenly. All the scattered pieces of your life story converge into perfect clarity. The rejection that cut so deep, it was protection from paths not meant for you. The delay that frustrated you for decades, it was divine preparation for this moment. Let me tell you about Martha, an 82-year-old widow who had faithfully served in her church for 50 years. She came to me broken, feeling like her life had amounted to nothing significant for God's kingdom. 3 weeks after embracing her divine appointment, she received a vision that led her to start a prayer ministry that now spans 30 countries. Your age isn't a disqualification, it's your qualification. Your wisdom, your experience, your tested faith is exactly what this broken world needs. But I must warn you, this divine appointment will require something of you. It demands you release everything that no longer aligns with your highest calling, those relationships that drain rather than empower you, those habits that comfort rather than challenge you, those beliefs about yourself that contradict what heaven says about you. The hour is urgent. The time is now. You stand at the threshold of destiny. This is your Jordan River moment. Will you step in before you see the waters part? This is your burning bush. Will you turn aside to see the wonder or walk past distracted? Chosen one, everything in your life has prepared you for this moment. At this sacred threshold, heaven itself holds its breath, waiting for your response. The angels lean in, the cloud of witnesses watches. Will you step forward or shrink back? You must make your declaration now. I am ready. Type I am ready or 888 in the comments below as your covenant before heaven. Why 888? Because in biblical numerology, 8 is the number of new beginnings, of resurrection, of covenant. By typing 888, you are declaring a threefold completion and readiness for the new thing God is doing. This isn't trivial. There is supernatural power in declaration. Proverbs 18:21 reminds us that death and life are in the power of the tongue. When you publicly declare your readiness, something shifts in the spiritual realm. Thousands upon thousands have made this declaration and then written to me weeks later, overwhelmed by the supernatural encounters that follow divine appointments, unexpected blessings, sudden clarity, healing that doctors couldn't explain. I've also seen the hesitation, the "I'll do it later," that becomes never, the skepticism that robs people of their miracle. Listen carefully, the window for your divine appointment isn't indefinite. Isaiah 55:6 warns us to seek the Lord while he may be found, call upon him while he is near. This message finding you today is evidence that he is near, but I cannot guarantee this divine alignment will remain tomorrow. For those feeling led to sow seeds of faith into this ministry, know that your offering isn't just supporting a message, it's partnering with heaven to reach countless others standing where you once stood, desperate for their breakthrough. Every seed sown returns a harvest, not just for this mission but in your own life. The sacred appointment is waiting. Heaven's hand is extended. Your transformation is just one declaration away. Are you ready to cross the threshold from what has been to what could be? Are you prepared to leave behind the familiar shore for uncharted waters of purpose? The sacred meeting that will change everything is here, and it begins with your response. Chosen one, can you feel it? The atmosphere around you is changing. The heaviness that once pressed upon your shoulders is lifting. The air itself feels different, charged with divine expectation. After decades of waiting, after years of feeling forgotten, heaven is now preparing something sacred for you. You've walked through the valley. You've endured the stripping away. You've surrendered what you thought was your purpose. And now, heaven is about to place a crown upon your head. This isn't just spiritual symbolism. This is reality unfolding in the unseen realm. Right now, angels are gathering. The courts of heaven are in session, and your name, yes, your name, is being announced before the throne. For you, O Lord, will bless the righteous. With favor you will surround them as with a shield. Psalm 5:12. The crown being prepared for you is not the crown of worldly fame. It's not the fleeting glory that fades with time or fortune that rusts away. This is the crown of divine mission, of heavenly purpose, of recognition from God Himself. Do you understand what this means? After all those nights you cried out, wondering if heaven had forgotten you. After all those moments you questioned if your time had passed. God was simply waiting for the perfect moment, this moment, to place upon you the mantle of authority that has always been yours. Let me ask you something that might shake you to your core. What if everything you've endured, every heartbreak, every setback, every closed door, was actually heaven's way of preparing your character to carry the weight of this crown? The world looks at age and sees limitation. Heaven looks at your years and sees wisdom refined in the fire. Think of Moses, 80 years old when he stood before the burning bush. Think of Abraham, 75 when God called him to father nations. Think of Anna, advanced in years when she beheld the Christ child and proclaimed his coming to all who awaited redemption. Your age isn't your disqualification, it's your qualification. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Isaiah 40-31. The world has tried to convince you that your season has passed, that at your age you should quietly step aside. The enemy has whispered that your moment of impact is behind you. But I stand here today with prophetic authority to tell you, you were never meant to beg for crumbs. You were destined to wear the crown. A soul that has been tested, like gold in the refiner's fire. A soul that has surrendered, letting go of what was to embrace what could be. A soul that has been burned by the trials of life, yet emerged with greater faith. This soul is worthy of carrying the sacred responsibility that heaven is now bestowing. Can you feel it? The weight of glory descending. This crown comes with authority. It comes with purpose. It comes with divine backing that no earthly power can stand against. When heaven crowns you, who can uncrown you? When God elevates you, who can diminish you? The crowning is not just a blessing, it's a commissioning. With this crown comes responsibility. Lives are connected to your obedience. Souls are tethered to your purpose. Communities will be transformed by the wisdom you carry. Some of you watching right now feel a trembling in your spirit. That's not fear, that's recognition. Your spirit knows this truth is for you. You've been hidden, but now it's time for revelation. You've been preparing, but now it's time for manifestation. You've been waiting, but now it's time for coronation. The question isn't whether the crown is ready for you. Heaven has already decided that. The question is, are you ready to receive what God has already decreed is yours? Will you step forward and bow your head to receive the mantle of purpose that heaven has preserved for this exact moment in history? Now imagine that God has specifically positioned you to be their divine appointment, because He has. This isn't about your comfort anymore, this is about your calling. In Esther 4:14, Mordecai challenged the queen with these haunting words, "And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" I'm asking you the same question. Who knows but that you have been positioned right where you are for such a time as this? The souls connected to your obedience are waiting, and God will not hold them in suspension forever while you debate whether you're ready. The divine appointment you've been preparing for isn't just with God, it's with the people He's assigned to your sphere of influence. You are no longer a seeker of miracles. You are a carrier of miracles. You are no longer waiting to be blessed. You are the blessing. You are no longer hoping for a divine encounter. You are the divine encounter for someone else. This is your moment to rise up and answer the call. Right now, I need you to do something that will ignite this commission in the natural realm. I need you to share this message with 3 people who need to hear it today. Be the spark. Light someone's way today. Not tomorrow, not when you feel more spiritual. Today. Because somewhere, someone is praying for exactly what you carry: your testimony, your wisdom, your faith, your experience. Will you answer heaven's call? Will you step out of the waiting room and into your divine commission? The lives connected to your obedience are hanging in the balance. What if the very reason you found this message today is because God is positioning you to carry it to someone who won't find it on their own? Don't delay. Your divine appointment isn't just coming, it's already here. And it's bigger than you ever imagined. As we come to the close of our time together, I want you to feel the weight of this moment. This isn't just another video you've watched. This is a divine appointment that will mark your life as before and after. The story of your past ends today. A new chapter, your true chapter, begins right now. Listen carefully to what the Spirit is declaring over you in this moment. You are no longer a victim of circumstances. You are a victor through Christ. You are no longer defined by what happened to you. You are defined by what happens through you. You are no longer waiting in line for your blessing. You are the blessing that others have been praying for. Romans 8:37 reminds us, "In all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us." More than conquerors, not barely surviving, not just getting by, but triumphant. Can you feel the shift happening in your spirit right now? That's not emotion, that's recognition. Your soul knows this truth. For too long, the enemy has whispered that your time has passed, that your age disqualifies you, that your purpose has expired. Today, those lies end. Moses was 80 when he led an entire nation out of bondage. Caleb was 85 when he claimed his mountain. Anna was in her 80s when she proclaimed the Messiah's arrival. Your gray hair isn't a sign of your end, it's the crown of your authority. Proverbs 16:31 declares, "Gray hair is a crown of splendor. It is attained in the way of righteousness." The world doesn't need more young influencers. It needs elders with tested faith and battle-proven wisdom. It needs you. I want you to place your hand over your heart right now. Feel that beat? That's not just your heart. That's God's timepiece counting down to your divine appointment. Every beat says, now, now, now. Not someday, not when you feel ready, now. Heaven did not call you to survive. Heaven called you to reign. Let me say that again. Heaven did not call you to survive. Heaven called you to reign. In this moment, I need you to make a declaration. Type in the comments below, "I step into destiny." Don't just read those words, declare them. Let heaven and earth and every demonic force that's tried to hold you back hear your declaration. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. This isn't just about supporting our ministry, it's about staying connected to the divine truths that will continue to unfold in your life. Each message builds upon the last, creating a foundation for your spiritual awakening. Remember these three truths as you go forward. Your divine appointment isn't coming, it's here, and it begins with your yes. Your age, your struggles, and your past aren't disqualifications, they're your credentials. You aren't alone in this journey. God's hand is guiding you, and this community stands with you in prayer and support. Thank you for staying with me through this entire message. I believe with all my heart that it found you at the exact moment you needed it. If this message has touched your spirit, please let me know in the comments below. Share your story, share your questions, share your heart. This isn't just a channel, it's a community of believers supporting one another through prayer and encouragement. Remember, your divine appointment isn't just coming, it has already been decided. The only question is, will you step into it? Until we meet again, may you walk in the fullness of your divine calling. Your destiny begins now.